What is up, everyone? Salty Tater's back with another deck tech. It's been a long time. Coming up on probably 8 months since I've done a deck tech. It was the first video on the channel. I did Azusa, my heart and joy of Magic. Today we got my favorite creature type. That is Eldrazi. And the commander of this deck is Zhulodok, Voidgorger. Colorless spells you cast from your hand with mana value 2 or greater have Cascade. And if you don't know what Cascade is, hold on, let me try to fix this. Freaking camera lenses. Trying to... When you cast one, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the exiled card on the bottom of your library in random order. And you do it again. So you cast a big spell, you find two things smaller than it. This is the deck. We're going to be talking about Zhulodok, we're going to be talking about Eldrazi's, and we're going to be talking about things that make my play group a little salty. So I'll be right back. Alright, first off, you got lands, because no deck is a deck without lands. And we run 15 wastes here. Full art wastes. We got 15 of them. Moving on to non-basics. We start off with Tron. So Urza's Tower, Urza's Mine, and Urza's Power Plant. Alone, they tap for 1. You have all 3 out. They tap for 7. That's pretty nice. Rogue's Passage. Make things unblockable. War Room. To draw a card. You pay life equal to your commander's color identity. It's 0 for Zhulodok. So this is just a tap 3 draw a card. Tyrite Sanctum, it came in the precon. Target legendary creature becomes a god in addition to its other types and put a +1/+1 counter on it. And then sacrifice Tyrite Spellbomb or Tyrite Sanctum, put an indestructible counter on target god, so you can make Zhulodok indestructible. Forge of Heroes. Puts a +1/+1 counter on your commander. Eldrazi Temple taps for 2. Ancient Tomb taps for 2. Pings you for 2. Really good card. Sanctum of Ugin. Whenever you cast a colorless spell with converted mana cost 7 or greater, you may sacrifice Sanctum of Ugin. If you do, search your library for a colorless creature card, reveal it, and put it into your hand, then shuffle your library. We got Temple of the False God. I know it's not everyone's favorite commander land anymore, but in an Eldrazi deck, it does pretty well. Shrine of the Forsaken God, same thing, taps for 2. Guildless Commons, the colorless bounce land. Seagate Wreckage, 3 mana tap, draw a card, activate if you have no cards in your hand. Blast Zone, enter the charge counter on it. You may put more charge counters on it and sacrifice Blast Zone. Destroy each non-land permanent with mana value equal to the number of charge counters on it. Mirror Pool, you may sacrifice it, it becomes a target of instant or sorcery, or it becomes a token of a creature you control. Reliquary Tower should probably be in every commander deck. Even if you don't plan on drawing a lot of cards, sometimes your opponents do things that make you draw a lot of cards. And having no maximum hand size really benefits you from drawing all those cards. Scavenger Grounds came in the precon. 2, sacrifice it, exile all graveyards. Ark of Orazka. Ascend, if you have the City's Blessing, you may pay 5 to draw a card. 2 tap, you gain 1 life for each colorless creature you control. All of our creatures are colorless, pretty nice. Bonder's Enclave. 3 tap, draw a card, activate if you have a creature with 4 or greater. 90% of our creatures are power 4 and greater. Each player draws a card, then discards a card. And then put a storage counter on it and remove it, and you can add colorless for how many storage counters were on it. So those are the lands. Moving on to, I guess, ramp. No deck is complete without ramp, and when your commander costs 6, it's even more important. So we got Worn Power Stone, taps for 2. Hedron Archive. I'm going to actually move those there. Hedron Archive, taps for 2. You may sacrifice it to draw 2 cards. Urza's Incubator. I don't know why. I don't know how to fix. My camera looks weird. I'll have to look at that. Give me 1 second. Alright, we're back. I had to like flip my whole setup around because the overhead light was glaring out all the cards. As you can see, there's still some glare on these ones. Hopefully this will be better though. Alright, that got it. Urza's Incubator. As long as Urza's Incubator is on the battlefield, choose a creature enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures, spells you control. Oh my god, I can't speak right now. Creature spells of the chosen type cost 2 less to cast. So you choose Eldrazi, they cost less. Helm of Awakening helps everyone, but helps you out just a little bit more. Everflowing Chalice. Multi-kicker and you can add colorless to the amount of counters on it. Hot topic, disclaimer. My group still allows us to play with Mana Crypt because we like Mana Crypt. And a lot of us spent money to get Mana Crypts. So, just check with your play group, you know? Like, I know it's banned, but most play groups will still allow you to play with Mana Crypt and Jeweled Lotus, even though they're banned. So Mana Crypt's in here. Thran Dynamo, tap to add 3. Soul Ring, because every commander deck needs a Soul Ring. Dreamstone Hedron. Pay 3. Sacrifice it to draw 3 cards. Thought Vessel, another thing that gives you no maximum hand size. Mind Stone. Taps for 1. You can sacrifice it to draw a card. And Gilded Lotus. I know we don't add colors, but having 3... Tapping it to add 3 of anything helps out a lot, so. Moving on to, we'll go utility creatures first before we go. Utility creatures and spells. So we got Matter Reshaper. It's an Eldrazi. When it dies, reveal the top card of your library. You may put that card onto the battlefield. If it's a permanent card, with mana value 3 or less. Otherwise, put it into your hand. So when it dies, you either draw a card or get a free spell out of it. Ugin the Ineffable, or Eugene, makes everything cost less. You manifest the top card of your library. Or destroy target permanent that's 1 or more colors. Thought-Knot Seer. When it enters... target opponent reveals his or her hand. You choose a non-land card from that and exile it. Why is my camera so... Trying to focus on something in the back or something? Just trying to get a good focus. Thought-Knot Seer. Endbringer. This is one of the spells, obviously, that I wish cost just 1 more to trigger Zhulodok. Wherever Zhulodok ended up, he's on the other side of the table. I'll grab him here in a minute. Yeah, if it just costs 1 more, it'd be fantastic. Which is not something you say a lot in Magic. But tap it, deal 1 damage to target creature or player. 1, tap it, target creature can't block this turn. Or 2, tap it and draw a card, and it untaps during each player's untap step. We got Calamity of the Titans. As an additional cost to cast a spell, reveal a creature card from your hand, and then exile each creature and planeswalker with mana value less than the card's revealed mana value. We play a lot of high-end stuff in this deck. We're getting here, but I have a stack of probably 20 cards here that all trigger the Cascade. And to do that, they have to be 7 or more. So, Ugin's Mastery. Manifest the top card of your library. Then whenever you attack with a with creatures with power 6 or greater, you may turn a face-down creature face up. That's pretty cool. Eldrazi Ravager from Modern Horizons 3 will probably end up getting cut for any of the better Eldrazi's in Modern Horizons 3 when I get them. So he's just kind of a placeholder. But Annihilator 1, sacrifice 2 Eldrazi and return it to your hand, and cycling 2. Not a bad card. Eldrazi Mimic has the power and toughness of a creature, Eldrazi that enters. That's pretty nice. Endless One is in this section and not in the other section because up until you pay 7 mana for it, it doesn't trigger the Cascade, but when you do, it triggers the Cascade. So he's just a good little Eldrazi guy, minding his own business. Skittering Cicada was in the precon, and this card is just so great. Whenever you cast a colorless spell into end of turn, Skittering Cicada gets +X/+X, where that spell's mana value. And that triggers off every spell you cast that turn. And gains Trample. This dude's just a beefy fucking... Oops. Beefy card. Ignore that. It that heralds the end makes things cost 1 less. You're 7 or greater and gives them +1/+1. And Conduit of Ruin. When it enters, you search, and then your first spell costs 2 less. Alright, so that was utility creatures. Now we're going to move on to utility spells. I'm going to put this back there as well. So spells are artifacts. Just good things to have in this deck. Sensei's Divining Top. Pay 1, look at the top 3 cards and put them back in any order, and then you tap it, draw a card, and put Sensei's Divining Top on top of your library. This is really good with one of the Salt cards later that we'll talk about. We got Semblance Anvil. You exile a card, and then if it shares a card type with the exiled card, it costs 2 less. So you exile an Eldrazi, and Eldrazi's cost 2 less. Lightning Greaves, always nice to have in a deck like this. Forsaken Monument. Colorless creatures get +2/+2. Whenever you tap a permanent for colorless, add an additional colorless. Whenever you cast a colorless spell, you gain 2 life. Really nice. Mystic Forge. It's kind of nice. It's letting you cast things off the top of your library are really nice. The artifacts are colorless spells. We have all colorless spells, so that's nice. Mirage Mirror, becoming a copy of target artifact, creature, and enchantment or land is nice to have. Spatial Contortion. Good removal spell or pump spell if you have a creature with big enough power. Modern Horizons 3 gave us Null Elemental Blast, so that's pretty nice. Counter or destroy a multicolor spell or permanent. Gruesome Slaughter's fun. It gives all your colorless creatures, this creature deals damage equal to its power to target creature. It's a good way to clear the board out. Warping Whale, another good early game counter target sorcery spell, exile, create some mana. Helm of the Host, fantastic when you play it on Zhulodok to get more Cascade triggers because Cascade stacks. So you can go Cascade, 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 which is great. Gets through your deck really fast. So there's that Helm of the Host. Moving on, we have the creatures that trigger Zhulodok, or the spells, I should say, that trigger Zhulodok. So this is anything that is 7 or more. Get those Cascade triggers out when Zhulodok's in, and first one is Not of This World. Counter target spell or ability that targets a permanent you control. It costs 7 less if it targets a creature with power 7 or greater. It's pretty nice. It That Betrays, these are in no particular order. I should have probably done better, but Annihilator 2, and then whenever an opponent sacrifices a non-token permanent, put that card onto the battlefield under your control. Kozilek, Butcher of Truth. And I know mine's pretty beat up, but I've had this one for a long time, like close to 10 years, probably even longer. It And that actually happened. My old roommate's cat chewed on this card. So it has some history. I keep it. I don't replace it. It's fun to have. Fun to tell people the story. Spine of Ishsaw, because destroying target permanent and then getting to cascade twice off of it is really nice. So, Kozilek, the Great Distortion. Draw cards equal to the difference of your hand. It has Menace. Discard a card with mana cost X. Counter target spell with mana cost X. Emrakul, the Promised End. When Emrakul, the Promised End enters, or costs 1 less to cast for each creature in your card type in your graveyard. I cannot talk today. When you cast Emrakul, you gain control of target opponent's next turn. They get an extra turn after that, and it has flying, trample, and protection from instants. Karn Liberated. +4, exile a card. 3, exile permanent. And the -14, restart the game, leaving in all exiled non-aura permanent cards exiled with Karn. Put the cards under your control. That's pretty nice. Artisan of Kozilek, getting something back from your graveyard with Annihilator 2. A new one from the Precon, Flayer of Loyalties. Gain control of target creature until end of turn, untap it. Has power and toughness 10/10, gains trample, Annihilator 2, and haste. Has Annihilator 2 itself. Rise of the Eldrazi just does the thing that the 3 main Titans did. You draw 4 cards, destroy target permanent, and take an extra turn. Ulamog's Crusher just barely makes it over that 7 mark, and that's why he's here. Annihilator 2 is nice. Breaker of Creation. Gain 1 life for each colorless permanent you control. Hexproof from each color, and Annihilator 2. Phyrexian Triniform, I know, not an Eldrazi, but does hit that mark and was in the Precon, which is why he's still here. When I get the new Eldrazi's, Emrakul, the World Anew, Ulamog, I don't know if I'll play Kozilek, but I'll probably get him too. These will probably get switched out, any of them that aren't Eldrazi's. Ulamog, the Ceaseless Hunger. I have a lot of pre-release stamp dates for my Eldrazi's. But when you cast him, exile 2 permanents, it's indestructible, and then you shuffle him. Breaker of Armies. Eldrazi Conscription, give a +10/+10 trample and Annihilator 2. Void Winnower. This is almost in the salt pile for this deck. It makes a lot of people angry when you say you can't even. I've had a lot of buddies get upset with this one. Bane of Balaged, 7 mark, that's pretty much why he's here. Darksteel Monolith has the 7 mark for the Cascade and lets you cast a free big boy from your hand each turn. Deceiver of Form becomes a target or a copy of the top card of your library, which is nice with that Sensei's Divining Top. Ulamog, the Infinite Gyre. Destroy target permanent, Annihilator 4. Desolation Twin hits the Cascade, is a 10/10, creates a 10/10. That's just a lot of power. So you spend 5 mana pretty much for a 10/10 because you get 2 10/10s. Another one that just barely hits the Cascade mark. Living Weapon. Same with Maelstrom Colossus here, being able to Cascade 3 times. It's pretty nice. So we're on to the last 2 cards. And the cards that make people salty. One's obvious, and one, I mean, you'll probably know from the thumbnail why, but I need to get that card up. The first card that opens the salt mines for people is All Is Dust. Each player sacrifices all colored permanents he or she controls. It gets around indestructible. It triggers the Cascade with Zhulodok. It's usually very one-sided, as you're probably the only colorless deck at the table. We get there fast with the mana ramp. It makes a lot of people angry. I've had a lot of people just scoop it up after an All Is Dust. One of my favorite cards. And now, onto the saltiest of salt. The one that I have problem running it. I'll draw it early, and I'll be like, ah, man, I drew it too early. I can't play it yet. People get upset when you play it. It changes the game until someone deals with it. That card is Time Sifter. Alright? For 5 mana, at the beginning of each player's upkeep, each player removes the top card of his or her library from the game. The player who removed the card with the highest converted mana cost takes an extra turn after this one. If 2 players' cards are tied for the highest cost, those players repeat the process until the tie is broken. So a couple issues with Time Sifter in general, and then Time Sifter in this deck. In general, it changes the game. It really drags it out. People don't like their stuff getting exiled from the top of their library. People don't like taking turns, or not getting their turns. And then you have to track who had the turn order before this disappeared. It goes crazy. It makes a lot of people upset. The problem in this deck specifically is that all of my stuff costs a lot, right? Like, just stuff that triggers the cascade. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. A fourth of the deck is 7 or greater, and you're not going to find that in any other decks. Maybe a green deck, right? But then they're going to have a bunch of small stuff to ramp with. So Time Sifter is a problem. It usually works well, and it gets worse when you pair it with Sensei's Divining Top. If you have both these out, you can tap this, look at the top 3 cards of your library, look to see what the highest card is, put that card on top if you don't need it, exile it with Time Sifter, and almost always get your turns, right? You'll be taking the rest of the turns for the rest of the game if your opponents don't have an answer for Time Sifter. I mean, it's an artifact. There's a lot of artifact removal. But you get this thing out early with the stuff you have, with the Mana Crypt that I'm allowed to play in this deck, which is probably why it's banned, one of the reasons. But you get Time Sifter out fast, you start taking extra turns, you're not going to have friends left. It's in here because, honestly, I don't play it half the time that it, I'll draw it into my hand, I'll be like, oh, I got a Time Sifter, but if I play this, everyone's going to scoop, the game will be over, so let's try to win without casting the Time Sifter. I love Time Sifter. I've never once complained about Time Sifter, but I know it makes a lot of people angry, so if you're going to build this deck, or build something similar to this, just be wary of the Time Sifter. The salt on this card is immense. That's Zhulodok. That's my Zhulodok deck. We've still got some upgrades to do. Like I said, I want the new Eldrazi's in here. And stuff like that. This is mostly just the pre-con that I shaved off. The stuff that didn't make sense and put in my Eldrazi's. Thanks for watching. This has been another video by Salty Taters. Zhulodok Deck Tech.